Think new cars sell fast? Not in 2026, because right now some brand new vehicles are sitting for 200, 300, even 600 plus days, losing value before they're even driven. And here's the worst part. Some of these were top sellers just a year ago. So what went wrong? Let's break down 12 cars nobody is buying right now, from bad to absolute disaster. Number 12. 2026 Nissan Altima. This one doesn't fail because it's terrible. It fails because it's already finished. The 2026 Nissan Altima is officially the last generation before the model gets discontinued. And that one piece of news alone completely changes how buyers see this car. Because the moment a vehicle is marked for death, one thing collapses instantly: resale value. And today's buyers are smarter than ever. Why spend over $30,000 on a brand new sedan that the manufacturer is walking away from, when you can buy a Toyota Camry or Honda Accord with a much safer long-term future? But it's not just the discontinuation hurting the Altima. There's also a long shadow of reliability concerns. Nissan's CVT transmissions have been a known weak point for years, and when they fail, repair bills can hit $5,000 to $5,500. A nightmare scenario for anyone financing the car. Then there's the 2.5-liter engine, which some owners report burns oil faster than expected. That means monthly top-offs, extra maintenance, and long-term headaches. And once buyers start hearing those stories, they hesitate. Then they walk away. That hesitation is now showing up in the numbers. The Altima is sitting at around 357 days of supply, with over 1,100 units waiting for buyers. Average transaction price? Roughly $30,900. Not terrible on paper, but in reality, this is a car people no longer want to commit to, and things only get worse from here. Number 11. 2026 Chevrolet Blazer EV. At first glance, the Blazer EV looks like a win. Bold styling, strong electric range, modern design. It should have been a home run. Instead, it turned into one of the roughest launches in recent memory. And the biggest problem? It's not the hardware. It's the experience. GM made a controversial decision to remove Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, replacing them with a built-in Google-based system. On paper, that sounds advanced. In reality, owners are calling it frustrating, buggy, and in some cases, completely unusable. We're talking about frozen infotainment screens, backup camera failures, systems not shutting down properly. And that's not just inconvenience, that's daily frustration. There was even a stop sale order in 2024 meant to fix these issues. But based on continued reports, the problems haven't fully gone away in 2026. Then comes the safety concern. A recall involving the parking brake wiring harness means the brake could either engage unexpectedly or fail entirely. That's not a minor glitch. That's something that directly affects driver confidence. And once trust is gone, sales follow. Buyers are doing their research, seeing these reports, and simply choosing something else. That's why the Blazer EV is now sitting at 329 days of supply, with over 3,100 units piling up on dealer lots. Average selling price lands around $49,300. And here's the real issue. At nearly $50,000, buyers expect things to just work. When they don't, they leave. And what's coming next proves this isn't just an EV problem, it's a pricing problem across the entire market. Number 10. 2026 Jeep Grand Cherokee L. This is where things start getting uncomfortable, because the Grand Cherokee L isn't failing due to one big mistake. It's failing because of a slow buildup of bad decisions. On paper, this should be one of the safest buys in the segment. A 3-row SUV, strong brand recognition, premium positioning. But once you look closer, the cracks show fast. The biggest issue? Pricing versus perception. The Grand Cherokee L is now pushing well past $50,000, placing it directly against heavy hitters like the Kia Telluride, Hyundai Palisade, and even some Toyota 3-row options. And here's the problem. Those competitors feel more refined, more reliable, and in many cases better equipped for the money. Jeep, on the other hand, is still fighting an identity battle. It's not quite luxury, but it's no longer affordable either, and buyers are noticing. Then comes the ownership experience. Some drivers report infotainment alignment glitches, long service wait times, dealer add-ons, pushing prices even higher. That last one matters more than people think, because when shoppers walk into a dealership expecting one price and walk out seeing thousands added in fees, trust disappears instantly, and once trust is gone, they don't come back. Now the numbers reflect that shift. The Grand Cherokee L is sitting at 278 days of supply, with over 7,300 units waiting on lots. Average transaction price is around $50,500. That's a lot of money for a vehicle buyers are starting to question. And what's coming next proves that even hype doesn't last forever. Number 9, 2026 Ford Bronco. Not long ago, the Ford Bronco was untouchable. Wait lists, dealer markups, people paying thousands over MSRP just to get one. It wasn't just popular, it was a phenomenon. But in 2026, that hype has cooled off hard. And here's why. The Bronco still delivers incredible off-road capability. No one's denying that. But once the excitement fades, reality kicks in. As a daily driver, the Bronco starts to feel like a compromise. Owners report loud wind noise from removable roof panels, water leaks during rain, a stiff, uncomfortable ride, poor fuel economy. That's already a tough list. But then comes the bigger issue. A recall involving the APIM module, the system controlling the infotainment display. Under certain conditions, it can overheat and completely shut down the screen for several minutes while driving. That means no navigation, no backup camera, no media in a vehicle costing close to $50,000. That's not just annoying, that's unacceptable. And once these stories spread, buyers start thinking twice, because off-road fun is great, but daily usability matters more. Now the numbers tell the story. The Bronco is sitting at around 280 days of supply, with a massive 34,000 plus units stacked across dealerships. That's one of the highest inventory counts on this entire list. Average selling price sits near $47,700. And that's the turning point, because when hype fades and reality sets in, even the hottest vehicles can cool off fast. And what's coming next might be even more controversial. Number 8, 2026 Dodge Charger. This is where the story shifts, because the 2026 Dodge Charger didn't fail quietly. It failed loudly. This was supposed to be a bold comeback, a modern muscle car that blends the past with the future. Instead, it ended up confusing almost everyone. Dodge made a massive change here. The legendary Hemi 5.8 is gone, replaced by a 3.0-liter twin-turbo inline-six called the Hurricane. Now, on paper, it looks strong, up to 550 horsepower and higher trims, quick, capable, but here's the problem. Muscle car buyers don't just care about numbers, they care about feeling, the sound, the vibration, that raw V8 character. And without it, something feels missing. For many loyal fans, this isn't an upgrade, it's a downgrade. Then comes the second hit: price. The new Charger starts at nearly $52,000. That's a massive jump compared to the previous generation, which was known for being relatively affordable. So now buyers are stuck in a weird position. Too expensive for traditional muscle fans, not refined enough to compete with luxury performance sedans. And that leaves the Charger in a dangerous middle ground. Add in the fact that Dodge is also pushing an electric version, and now the identity crisis gets even worse. Gas buyers aren't fully convinced. EV buyers have better options elsewhere. Result, nobody feels fully satisfied. That confusion shows up clearly in the data. The Charger is sitting at 309 days of supply, with over 7,700 units waiting on dealer lots. Average selling price climbs to around $59,800. That's serious money for a car that no longer knows exactly who it's for. And from here, we move into a different kind of problem, one where uniqueness itself becomes the weakness. Number 7, 2026 Jeep Gladiator. The Gladiator didn't fail because it blended in. It failed because it stood out too much. At launch, that uniqueness was its biggest strength, a Wrangler with a pickup bed. It felt fresh, different, almost fun. But in 2026, that same idea is starting to work against it, because buyers today aren't just chasing uniqueness anymore. They're chasing practicality. And that's where the Gladiator struggles. As a truck, it doesn't match the usability of rivals like the Toyota Tacoma or Ford Ranger. The bed is limited, towing capability isn't class-leading, payload is average, and as a daily driver, it comes with compromises. Owners often mention rough ride quality, poor fuel economy, cabin noise over long drives. At first, those things feel manageable, but over time, they wear you down. Then comes pricing. A well-equipped Gladiator easily climbs past $50,000, and at that level, buyers start asking a simple question: why not just get something better suited for everyday use? That's the turning point, because once buyers start comparing logically instead of emotionally, the Gladiator starts losing fast. Dealers are already feeling that pressure. Some are offering discounts close to 20% off MSRP just to move inventory, and even then, it's not enough. The Gladiator now sits at 323 days of supply, with over 16,300 units stacking up nationwide. Average transaction price hovers around $50,300. That's a lot to pay for something that feels like a compromise in multiple areas. And now we're entering the point in the list where things get even more serious, because the next one isn't just struggling, it's losing buyer trust completely. And real quick, if you're seeing how fast these vehicles went from popular to ignored, that's exactly why this kind of data matters, because one bad buying decision here can cost you thousands in depreciation and ownership headaches. So if you want more breakdowns like this, real data, real insights, hit that like button and subscribe, because it genuinely helps. Now let's keep going. This is where the list gets heavier and more damaging for manufacturers. Number 6, 2026 Buick Envision. At first glance, nothing about the Buick Envision looks like a disaster. Clean design, comfortable ride, decent features. So why is it sitting unsold for months? Because this isn't a product problem. It's a pricing and perception problem triggered by something most buyers don't even think about until it hits their wallet. The Envision is built in China, and when a 45% import tariff hit Chinese-built vehicles in 2025, GM had two choices: absorb the cost or pass it on. They chose the second option. That decision instantly raised the price by roughly $5,000, pushing the Envision into a completely different category. Now you're looking at a starting price near $43,000, with average transaction prices around $47,000 plus, and that's where things fall apart, because at that price, buyers expect something closer to a luxury experience. But the Envision doesn't quite deliver that. It's comfortable, sure, but it doesn't feel premium enough to justify the jump. So buyers start asking a simple question: why not just spend a little more and get a real luxury brand? And just like that, and the Envision loses its position in the market. Too expensive for mainstream buyers, not premium enough for luxury buyers. That's one of the worst places a car can be. Now add the fact that production won't move to the US until 2028, and this pricing issue isn't going away anytime soon. The result? The Envision is sitting at around 256 days of supply, with over 13,600 units waiting on dealership lots. Average selling price lands near $47,100. Not terrible on paper, but in reality, buyers simply aren't convinced. And from here, things don't just stay bad, they get worse, especially for one brand that keeps showing up again and again. Number 5, 2026 Jeep Grand Cherokee Standard. When the same brand appears multiple times on a list like this, that's not a coincidence. That's a warning sign, and Jeep is learning that lesson the hard way. The standard Grand Cherokee used to be the perfect middle ground. Capable, affordable, versatile. It was the SUV people recommended without hesitation. But in 2026, that identity is gone, and the biggest reason? Pricing drift. The average transaction price now sits around $47,000 plus. That puts it head to head with some very serious competition. Vehicles from Hyundai, Kia, and Toyota that offer better reliability reputations, more refined interiors, stronger value for the money, and once buyers start comparing, the Grand Cherokee starts falling behind. But it's not just the price, it's the ownership experience. Reports of infotainment system issues, long service wait times, dealership markups, and add-ons. All of that adds friction to the buying process, and friction kills sales, because today's buyers have options, lots of them, and when trust starts slipping, they don't hesitate to move on. That's exactly what's happening here. The Grand Cherokee is now sitting at a massive 365 days of supply, essentially a full year of inventory, and here's the number that really stands out. Over 22,500 units are currently sitting on dealer lots. That's the highest raw inventory count on this entire list, which tells tells you everything you need to know. This isn't just a slow seller. This is a vehicle that buyers are actively avoiding. And unfortunately for Jeep, they're not done yet, because what's coming next shows just how deep this problem goes. Number 4, 2026 Mitsubishi Outlander. This is what happens when a vehicle promises more than it can actually deliver. On paper, the Mitsubishi Outlander checks a lot of boxes. 3-row seating, modern design, family-focused positioning. Sounds like a solid package, but once you actually live with it, the reality feels very different. Let's start with the biggest issue. Power. For 2026, Mitsubishi moved to a 1.5-liter turbocharged engine making just 174 horsepower. Now pair that with a vehicle weighing over 3,700 pounds, and you've got a serious mismatch. Owners and reviewers consistently describe the driving experience the same way. Slow, strained, underwhelming, and that becomes a real problem in everyday situations. Merging onto highways, carrying passengers, driving uphill. This is not where you want your SUV to feel weak. But the problems don't stop there. The third row, one of its main selling points, is barely usable. For most adults, it's cramped. For families, it quickly turns into a kids-only space. So now the Outlander isn't really a true 3-row SUV. It's more like a 2.5-row compromise. Then comes pricing. With dealer markups and higher trims, buyers are seeing prices climb toward $45,000. And at that level, expectations go up. But the Outlander doesn't rise with them. Instead, buyers start comparing. And that's where it loses, because competitors offer better performance, more usable space, and stronger overall value. The result shows up clearly in the data. The Outlander is sitting at around 372 days of supply, with over 7,600 units sitting unsold. Average selling price is about $37,100. And that's the problem. Even at a relatively reasonable price, it still doesn't feel like enough. And now we move into something even more telling, because the next one shows what happens when a product becomes too niche for its own survival. Number 3, 2026 Jeep Wrangler 2-door. At one point, the Jeep Wrangler was the symbol of freedom, off-road capability, iconic design, timeless appeal. But here's the reality in 2026. Not all Wranglers are equal anymore, and the 2-door version is starting to fall behind fast. The shift in buyer preference is clear. Most people today want the 4-door Wrangler Unlimited. More space, more practicality, more versatility. It simply fits modern lifestyles better, which leaves the 2-door in a strange position. It's no longer the default choice. It's a niche product, and niche products only work when pricing makes sense. But that's where Jeep misses again. A 2-door Wrangler, especially in trims like Willys, can climb past $50,000. That's a tough sell, because now buyers are asking, why pay premium money for less space and less usability? And that question is hard to answer. Then come reliability concerns. Some 2026 owners report early check engine lights, powertrain issues within the first few thousand miles. That's the kind of thing that spreads quickly, and once it does, confidence drops fast. Now combine all of that niche appeal, high pricing reliability concerns, and you get a perfect storm. The 2-door Wrangler is now sitting at around 373 days of supply, with over 9,200 units waiting for buyers. Average transaction price is about $42,500. That's a lot of inventory for a vehicle that used to sell on image alone. And now we're down to the final 2, because what's coming next isn't just a slow seller, it's a full-blown collapse. Now we hit the final stretch where things go from bad to outright collapse. Number 2, 2026 Ford Mustang Mach-E. This isn't just a slowdown. This is a full-blown drop-off. The Ford Mustang Mach-E was once one of the hottest EVs on the market. Strong demand, tax incentives, a fresh take on the Mustang name. But in 2026, everything that helped it rise is now working against it. Let's start with the biggest hit. The Mach-E lost its $7,500 federal tax credit eligibility. That alone instantly changed buyer math, because when a car suddenly becomes thousands of dollars more expensive overnight, demand doesn't dip, it drops hard. And that's exactly what happened. Ford's EV sales took a massive hit in early 2026, with Mach-E deliveries down over 60% year over year. That's not a small decline, that's a collapse. But the tax credit isn't the only problem. Depreciation is another major factor. The Mach-E is losing around 60% of its value over 5 years, one of the worst rates in the EV segment, and buyers are catching on, because right now you can find lightly used Mach-E models in the low $20,000 range. range. So the question becomes obvious. Why spend over $40,000 on a new one? Then come the technical concerns. There are ongoing recalls involving headlight failures, Blue Crew system issues, a rollaway bug in certain conditions. These aren't minor annoyances. They directly affect safety and confidence. Put all of this together, and you get a vehicle that buyers are actively avoiding. The Mach-E is now sitting at a staggering 548 days of supply, nearly a year and a half of inventory. Over 4,100 units are waiting on dealer lots. Average selling price sits around $49,500. And here's the reality. At that price, with those concerns, buyers simply aren't taking the risk. And yet, even this isn't the worst one, because number one takes everything you've seen so far and pushes it even further. Number 1, 2026 Audi SQ5. This is it, the single worst selling new vehicle on this list. And honestly, this one hits differently because it's not failing due to lack of power. It's not failing because of pricing alone. It's failing because it lost what made it special. The Audi SQ5 used to be a sweet spot in the luxury performance SUV segment. Strong V6 power, premium interior, balanced driving experience. But the 2026 redesign changed that equation. And not in a good way. Let's start with the interior, because that's where most of the complaints begin. Owners and reviewers are calling it a downgrade. Too much glossy piano black plastic, surfaces that attract fingerprints instantly, materials that don't feel worthy of a vehicle costing over $75,000. And then there's the usability issue. Audi moved key controls, including climate functions, into the touchscreen, which means simple adjustments now require taking your eyes off the road. That's not just inconvenient, it's frustrating. Then come the software problems. Reports include infotainment randomly muting itself, navigation failing to provide voice directions, glitches that feel out of place in a luxury vehicle, and even beyond tech. Some drivers mention harsh gear changes in certain driving modes. These aren't catastrophic failures, but at this price point, they don't need to be, because expectations are higher, much higher, and when those expectations aren't met, buyers walk away. That's exactly what's happening. The SQ5 is sitting at a shocking 626 days of supply. That's nearly 2 full years of inventory. Nothing else on this list comes close. This isn't slow sales. This is complete buyer rejection. So there you have it, 12 brand new vehicles in 2026 that are stacking up on dealer lots with no buyers in sight. And the biggest takeaway, it's not just about bad cars, it's about bad decisions, pricing mistakes, reliability concerns, ignoring what buyers actually want. And in today's market, those mistakes get punished fast. If this breakdown helped you avoid a costly buying decision, hit that like button. It genuinely helps the channel. And if you want more data-driven insights like this, subscribe, because the next video breaks down cars that are holding value like crazy in 2026, and you don't want to miss that. I'll see you in the next one.